Good afternoon. So today we will see the general system architecture of OS. So given the input output instructions are privileged, and how does the user program input output? So system call means what? System call means the method which is used by a process to request action. System calls means the method which is used by a process to request action by the operating system. Usually it takes the form of a trap to specific location in the interrupt vector. The control passes through the interrupt vector to a service routine in the OS, and the mode bit is set to a monitor mode. Then the monitor verifies that the parameters are correct and legal, and it executes the request and return control to the instruction following the system call. So the system call provide the interface between a running program and the operating system, and generally it is available as a assembly language instruction. The system call here, the language is defined to replace assembly language for system programming, allow a system calls to be made directly, for example C, C++. There are three general methods which are used to pass parameter between a running program and the operating system. So the pass parameter in the register, then store the parameter in a table in memory, and the table address is passed as a parameter in register, then push the parameter onto the stack by the program and pop off the stack by the operating system. Then a system call is used to complete a specific task such as reading input file name, opening a file, error message if any, abnormal termination, deletion of a file, prompting a message, reading data for the file, then writing data to the file or console, closing the file, and normal termination. So these are some specific tasks which are used by the system call. Then there are some types of system calls such as process control, file management, and device management. The process control consists of end or abort, load, execute, create process, terminate process, get process attribute, set process attribute, as well as wait for the time, wait event, signal event, allocate memory, free memory. Then in file management, it consists of create file, delete file, open and close, read write reposition, get file attributes, set file attributes. The device management consists of request device, release device, read write reposition, get device attribute, set device attribute, and logically attached device, logically detached device. So these are the types of system calls. There are two more types, that is information maintenance. It consists of get time or date, set time or date, then get system data, set system data, then get process file or device attribute, set process file or device attribute. Then communication consists of create communication connection, delete communication connection, send message, receive message, transfer status information, attach remote devices, detach remote devices. So this is the diagram which consists of use of a system call to perform input output. So it consists of system calls, read, and there are certain operations, that is trap to monitor, perform input output, return to the user. Then next is architecture of operating system. The architecture of operating system consists of various types, that is monolithic operating system, layered operating system, microkernel operating system, and network and distributed operating system. So the first one is layered operating system. The operating system in layered operating here, the operating system is divided into number of layers or levels, and each built on the top of lower level. The bottom layer, that is layer 0, is hardware, and the highest layer, that is layer n, is the user interface. With modularity, the layers are selected such that each uses the functions or the operations and services of only lower level layers. Then, as the operating system became larger and more complex, the purely monolithic design became unwieldy. So, the layered approach to the operating system attempts to address this issue by grouping components that perform similar functions into the layer. Each layer communicates exclusively with those immediately above and below it. The lower level layer provides services to higher level ones using an interface that hide their implementation. For example, the operating system is an early example of a layered operating system. Windows XP and Linux implement some level of layering. Then the layered operating system consists of layer 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Layer 0, process allocation and process scheduling. Layer 1, memory management. 2, message interpreter. Layer 3, input output management. And layer 4, user application. So from layer 0 to 3 it is a hardware and it is a kernel space, and above layer 4 is a user space. So the first generation of the approach is to organize the operating system as hierarchy of the layers, and the main advantage of the layered approach is modularity. Here each layer uses the function and the services of lower level layers. It simplifies debugging and system verification. Also, the first layer can be debugged without any concern for the rest of the system, because by definition it uses only the basic hardware to implement its functions. Once first layer is debugged, its correct functioning can be assumed while the second layer is worked on, and so on. If an error is found during the debugging of a particular layer, we know that the error must be on that layer because the layer below it are already debugged. So the design and implementation is simplified when the system is broken down into the layers. So the function of layer 0 is hardware. Layer 1 function is CPU scheduling. Layer 2 function is memory management. Layer 3 function is operator console device driver. Layer 4 function is buffering for input and output devices. And layer 5 function is the user programs. Now there is a problems with the layered approach, that is the appropriate definition of the various layer, because a layer can use only those layers that are at lower level. And second problem is the careful planning is necessary. If the device drivers for backing store must be lower than that of the memory management routines. Next problem is it is less efficient than other types. Here the user program to execute an input-output operation, it executes a system call that is trapped to the input-output layer, which calls the memory management layer through to the CPU scheduling and finally to the hardware. At each layer the parameter may be modified, data may need to be passed, etc. The next problem is each layer adds overhead to the system call, and the system call takes more time compared to the non-layered system. The layering concept was present in the multi system operating system Win NT Windows 95. Instead of layers, the multics was organized as a series of concentric rings, with inner being more privileged than the outer ones, When procedure in an outer ring wanted to call a procedure in the inner ring, it had to make the equivalent of a system call whose parameters were checked for the validity before allowing the call to proceed. Here is the diagram of layer structure. Here the hiding information at each layer. Develop a layer at a time. The nth layer can access a service provided by the n-1th layer, and it provides the services to the n+1th layer. The one advantage of layered operating system structure is that each layer of the code is given access to only the lower level interface and the data structure. This structure also allows the operating system to be debugged starting at the lowest level, adding one layer at a time until the whole system works correctly. The layering also makes it easier to enhance the operating system. One entire layer can be replaced without affecting other parts of the system. The layered operating system delivers low application performance in comparison to the monolithic operating system. Now, the next type is monolithic system structure. The traditional Unix OS uses a monolithic kernel architecture. The entire operating system runs as a single program in kernel mode. Here all kernel routines are together. A system call interface, for example Linux, most Unix operating system, and NT. So basically the structure is that there is no any structure. The operating system is written as a collection of procedure, so each of which can call any of the other ones whenever it needs to. Each procedure in the system has a well-defined interface in terms of parameter and results. To construct actual object program of operating system, one first compile all individual procedure and then binds them all together into a single object file using the system linker. In terms of information hiding, there is nothing because each procedure is visible to every other procedure. So the services provided by the operating system are requested by putting parameter in well-defined places as in register or on the stack and then executing a special trap instruction known as a kernel call. This instruction switches machine from user mode to the kernel mode and then transfer control to the operating system. The operating system then examines the parameter of the call to determine which system call is to be carried out. The basic structure of the operating system can be divided into three parts. The first one is a main program that invokes the requested service procedure. The second is a set of service procedure that carry out system calls. And third is a set of utility procedure that help the service procedure. So, in this model, for each system call, there is a one service procedure that takes care of it. The utility of the procedure do things that are needed by a several service procedure as fetching data from user program. So this diagram shows the monolithic operating system kernel architecture. Now here the kernel consists of many things, that is that is it has a memory manager, processor scheduler, inter-process communication, file system, input output manager, network manager. Then this diagram shows the monolithic structure of the operating system. So it is the oldest architecture which is used for developing operating system resides on the kernel for anyone to execute. Here the system call is invoked, that is switching from user mode to the kernel mode and transfer control to the operating system. Many CPU has two modes, that is kernel mode for the operating system in which all instructions are allowed, and user mode for the user program in which input output devices and certain other instructions are not allowed. The two operating system then examines the parameter of the call to determine which system call is to be carried out. Next, the operating system index into a table that contain procedure that carries out a system call. So this operation is shown in the event. Finally, it is called when the work has been completed and the system call is finished. The control is given back to the user mode, which is shown in event 4. So this diagram shows the monolithic kernel based operating system. In that there is a hardware, device driver, scheduler, virtual memory, IPC file system, VFS, and last one is application system call. And microkernel based operating system, it has a hardware, basic IPC, virtual memory, scheduling, and then it has a application IPC, Unix server, device driver, file server. Then the next type is before that, in microkernel design, the most operating system components such as process management, networking, file system interaction, device management execute outside the kernel with a lower privileged level. The microkernels exhibit a high degree of modularity, making them extensible, portable, and scalable. So further, because the microkernel does not rely on each component to execute, one or more components can fail without causing the operating system to fail. So Linux and Windows XP contain modular components. Then the next is virtual machines. So it is developed by IBM, originally called CP/CMS and later renamed as a VM1370, which is based on the observation, time sharing system, multi-programming, and extended machine with a more convenient interface than the bare hardware. The heart of the system, known as a virtual machine monitor, runs on the bare hardware and does a multi-programming, providing a several virtual machine to the next layer. The virtual machine are exact copies of the bare hardware, including the kernel, user mode 1, interrupts, and everything else the real machine it has. Since each virtual machine is identical to the true hardware, each one can run any operating system that will run directly on the bare hardware. The different virtual machines run different operating system. Some run on the operating system 360 while other run on a single user interactive system called CMS, that is conversational monitor system. So virtual machine is an illusion of a real machine. It is created by a real machine operating system which make a single real machine appears to a several real machine. The architecture of virtual machine. The best example of virtual machine architecture is IBM 370 computer. Here in this system, each user can choose a different operating system. So actually the virtual machine can run several operating systems once, each of them on its virtual machine. In multi-programming, it shares the resources of a single machine in different manner. So the concept of virtual machine are control program, that is CP, which create the environment in which virtual machine can execute. It gives to each user facilities of real machines such as processor, storage, input output devices. Next is conversation monitor system, that is CONS. It is a system application having a features of developing program. It contain editor, language translator and various application packages. Then the next is remote spooling communication system, RSCS. It provides virtual machine with the ability to transmit and receive file in distributed system. And the last is IPCS, that is interactive problem control system. It is used to fix the virtual machine software problem. So by using the CPU scheduling and virtual memory technique, an operating system can create an illusion of the multiple processes. This diagram shows the non-virtual machine and the virtual machine. So the virtual machine provide an interface that is identical to the hardware. That is, each process is provided with virtual copy of underlying computer. The resources of physical computer are shared to create the virtual machine. The CPU, input output, memory, disk are shared and virtual copies are created. So this diagram shows the non-virtual machine and the virtual machine. Here each virtual machine is isolated from all other virtual machines, so there are no security problems. In virtual machine, here the users are given their own virtual machine and they can run any of the operating system or software package on these machines. For example, running MS-DOS on a Pentium machine, that is system compatibility problems are solved. Then running Windows, Linux and other operating system on the same machine. So there are some advantages and disadvantages of virtual machine. The virtual machine concept provides complete protection of the system resources since each virtual machine is isolated from all other virtual machines. This isolation aware permit no direct sharing of the resources. A virtual machine system is a perfect vehicle for operating system research and development. The system development is done on the virtual machine instead of on a physical machine and so does not disrupt normal system operation. The virtual machine concept is difficult to implement due to the effort required to provide an exact duplicate to the underlying machine. So this is all about the operating system. Thank you.